sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cages loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the days on its run. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you. When I hear the word future farmer, that's a very, very important term. You're very smart doing that. Future farmer. I hear some people want to go into a business or an industry. I say, I wouldn't want to do that, but I would like to be a future farmer. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. But as you know, earlier today, there was a horrific shooting targeting and killing Jewish Americans at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The shooter is in custody, and federal authorities have been dispatched to support state and local police and conduct a full and thorough federal investigation. This wicked act of mass murder is pure evil, hard to believe, and frankly, something that is unimaginable. Our nation and the world are shocked and stunned by the grief. This was an anti-Semitic act. You wouldn't think this would be possible in this day and age, but we just don't seem to learn from the past. Our minds cannot comprehend the cruel hate and the twisted malice that could cause a person to unleash such terrible violence during a baby naming ceremony. This was a baby naming ceremony at a sacred house of worship on the holy day of Sabbath. Anti-Semitism and the widespread persecution of Jews represents one of the ugliest and darkest features of human history. The vile, hate-filled poison of anti-Semitism must be condemned and confronted everywhere and anywhere it appears. There must be no tolerance for anti-Semitism in America or for any form of religious or racial hatred or prejudice. You know that. You know that very well. You know that very well. You're outstanding people. You were brought up incredibly by outstanding parents in most cases. And I just want to thank you for your understanding, because today, with one unified voice, we condemn the historic evil of anti-Semitism and every other form of evil. And unfortunately, evil comes in many forms. and we come together as one American people. I have just spoken. Go ahead. We should. I have just spoken with the mayor of Pittsburgh, Bill Peduto, terrific guy, and with the governor of Pennsylvania, who I've been dealing with quite a bit lately on the hurricanes and other things, Tom Wolf, two terrific people, to assure the full and complete resources of my administration in the investigation of this attack. We are praying for the families of the victims, and our hearts go out to the wounded law enforcement officers in Pittsburgh, very badly wounded and very brave. The results and the facts will be put out very shortly, but these were very brave officers. These are incredible people of law enforcement, and law enforcement does so much for us, so much for us. They really do. They do so much for us, and they're really unsung heroes. They don't get the credit they deserve, but I've always given them the credit. These are incredible patriots, incredible people. We mourn for the unthinkable loss of life that took place today, and we pledge in their name to fight for a future of justice, safety, tolerance, morality, dignity, and love. We must all rise above the hate, move past our divisions, and embrace our common destiny as Americans. And it doesn't mean that we can't fight hard and be strong and say what's on our mind, but we have to always remember those elements. We have to remember the elements of love and dignity and respect and so many others. As we hold Pennsylvania and the great people of Pennsylvania close in our hearts and prayers, I am glad to be here today in the wonderful state of Indiana. We love Indiana. And to address some people that are going to be so successful, the future farmers of America. Especially after I open up all those countries to you with our great trade deals, because you had the worst trade deals. You had the most one-sided, uneven, unfair trade deals, and they're falling one by one. You know that. We just signed Mexico and Canada and South Korea. And we're opening them up. And you're doing well, and you're going to do much better. You're even doing better. I looked at your numbers from 2 and 3 and 4 years ago. They weren't pretty. It was going in the wrong direction. Now you're going in the right direction. You know it. But before we get on to the farm business, I was in the plane, Air Force One. Did anyone ever hear of Air Force One? Beautiful. See? Anything can happen. If I can fly on Air Force One, then you can be a really, really successful farmer, right? That's what it is. But, you know, as I was flying on Air Force One, I said to my people, because of the horrible tragedy, I mean, I almost shouldn't say this, but people that have done this and do this for a living, tough living, people that went in as first responders, police officers, law enforcement, that have seen many crime scenes, they said this is one of the worst that they've seen. They've seen many horrible crime scenes. They said this is one of the worst they've seen. And we're going to have to come out with very, very powerful punishment for these horrible people that do these things. We're going to have to come out with the ultimate punishment. You know what the ultimate punishment is. It's time. We can't let this happen. It's time. And if it does happen, they have to pay a very big price. And it has to go much quicker. Not 10 years of legal wrangling. And I said on the plane that, number one, I'm going to see these young, brilliant, handsome, and beautiful. You know you're not allowed to say that anymore, but I'm saying it anyway. Handsome. I'm not supposed to say handsome, but you are handsome. And I'm not supposed to say beautiful, but you are beautiful. So I guess I'm just old-fashioned. But I said on Air Force One that I would like you to call into Indiana, Indianapolis, anywhere you want, Indiana, and I wanted to see if you could find a rabbi and a pastor to say grace. And I said, I know we have a tremendous crowd, and I think they'd all understand it. I think most of them would love it. And we found a highly respected rabbi, Benjamin Sendro, who's highly respected. And we found a great pastor. Don't forget, they were given about 8 minutes notice. It's like, can you get over here immediately? And we have Pastor Tom O'Leary from the area. Oh, look at that. They know Tom O'Leary. Look. Wow. And I thought I would invite them on stage. Let's give them a big round and then let them each say grace, say a prayer, because today's a time when we could use a great prayer from a pastor and a rabbi. Please come on, please.
Would you close your eyes and open your heart and pray with me today? Father in heaven, we don't always understand why crazy things happen in our world, but we're reminded that this earth we live on will never be as great as heaven and never as horrific as hell, but we get tastes of heaven and hell. It's in this moment, God, that we would ask for your comfort and your love and your grace and your peace to be upon the victims and their family and their friends in this community of faith that we stand up for. God, I pray for the police officers and their families that were affected. And God, we pray for protection for our police officers. We honor them today. God, we pray for protection in America. We pray, God, that your wisdom and favor would be on our president, President Trump. We celebrate that every heartbeat is a gift. We thank you that you're a God of grace and mercy and love. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Rabbi Benjamin.
Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven, our hearts are heavy today with sorrow. On this day, which from the beginning of time you declared to be holy, the sanctity of the day, the prayers, the praise were shattered by the sound of gunshots. We first pray that you should send complete healing speedily to the injured and send strength and comfort to the families of those who did not survive. We pray today for moral clarity. Let us not dismiss this as an act of insanity, but let us see it for what it is, an act of evil. As it is written in the Psalms, Ohavei Adonai sinu ra, those who love God hate evil, and this is a nation that loves its God, and this is a nation that hates evil. May we continue under the leadership of our president, who works tirelessly to fight evil at home and around the world. May we join him in that fight. And may we always remember that the presence of a few evil people among us does not define this country. We are blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and for that we thank you. Amen.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Great people. Not a lot of notice. They did a good job, don't you think? That's not easy. That's not easy. And I assume a lot of people are watching. And we appreciate the fact that you allow them to watch. Very much do. One of the questions that I was asked when we said thank you, one of the questions I was asked, will I come to this event? And I said, future farmers, young farmers, I'm coming to this event. And then I was asked whether or not I was going to another event later on in Illinois, which was more or less of a rally, political rally. And at first I was thinking I'll cancel. And then I said, you know, we can't let evil change our life and change our schedule. We can't do that. We have to go and do whatever we were going to do. Otherwise, we give them too much credit. We make them too important. And you go with a heavy heart, but you go. You don't want to change your life. You can't make them important. These are bad people. You can't allow them to dominate what we do. So I'll go. Not that I want to go, but I think I actually, in reverse, have an obligation to go. I remember when we had the attack in Manhattan. We opened that stock exchange. The next day, people were shocked. A great group of people. The head of the New York Stock Exchange is just a fantastic guy, Dick. And he opened it up, he got it opened. Everybody was standing proudly with him. And the purpose wasn't financial, had nothing to do with financial. It was that we don't want to let people that are evil change our lives. So I think when I'm finished with this, I should go to Illinois. I will go to Illinois. And we'll keep our schedule the way it's supposed to be, and we should all do that. And I maybe recommend that to others also. It's a personal choice, but I think maybe we should recommend that to a lot of other people. In the meantime, it's my honor to be with you right now. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we get down to the business of farming. Does anybody want to talk about farms and farming? No? And ethanol that I just approved for you. And for the country, by the way. And this group of people that are so ambitious. I saw that level. I came over. I figured I'd take just one quick hand and run up to the podium and the whole place. And I saw that level of ambition. I said, they're going to be very successful people. Then I said, this side, these great musicians, they would never be that way. And they had the same ambition, right? They rushed the podium. A lot of talent. That's good music, by the way. I heard that backstage. I said, that's good music. But my administration is fighting for our farmers every single day. We are replacing unfair trade deals. You have very unfair trade deals, folks. If you look at farming over the last 15 years, it's a steady decline. There's no reason for it. It's now going to be a steady incline. There's no reason for what happened to farmers. Incredible people. We're going to be opening new markets for your exports. We're going to be eliminating job-killing regulations, which we've already done in record numbers. No, record numbers. We will be ending oppressive federal intrusion, and you and your families know exactly what that means. We'll be cutting your taxes, and just like I promised, we are ensuring that ethanol will remain a vital part of America's energy future with my just last week at the absolute urging of your great Secretary of Agriculture, Mr. Sonny Perdue. He knows more about farming. I don't know where he is. Where is Sonny Perdue? He knows more about farming than any human being I've ever seen in my life. Where is Sonny? Is he here? Is he backstage? What a great gentleman. And he loves farmers. And he loves farming. You know, when I was going to pick the Secretary of Agriculture, I interviewed about 7 or 8 people. And one was great politically, and one was great some other way, and they all had something that was fine, I guess. But I kept saying, what do you know about farming? Sir, I know nothing, but I can learn. And my staff is saying, oh, hire him, he's perfect. I said, but he doesn't know anything. And then another one came in, and he had some other talent, but farming wasn't one of them. Then a third one came in. I said, let me ask you, this guy really seemed to be a total novice. Have you ever been to a farm? No, sir. But if I get the job, I said, the first thing I do is going to visit a farm. And I think the future farmers wouldn't be too happy. And then this guy, Sonny Perdue, walks in. You know, he was the governor of Georgia for 8 years and very popular. He was the governor of Georgia, and he was a popular governor. In fact, he would have been there forever, I guess, but he was term limited, right? It's always nicer than somebody loses. But he was a popular governor, a really popular governor, and a great governor. And he walked into my office, and he was there for an hour. I learned more about farming in that 1 hour than I have in my whole life. And he was not perfect in certain ways. But when it came to farming, he was so good, I've never seen anything like it. Politically speaking, farming speaking, but he loves his farmers, and he has done some great job. So, Sonny Perdue, thank you very much. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you. Man knows more about it. Thank you. My administration is working very hard to help all of our wonderful farmers in Georgia and the Florida Panhandle impacted by the recent hurricane. We do love that Panhandle. I'll tell you what, that Panhandle got hit hard, and a piece of Georgia got hit. I went there, and I saw farmers who were so incredible. I was with Melania, First Lady. She's doing a great job. And we had cotton farmers and pecan farmers and timber farmers, and these are beautiful people that were devastated. And a cotton farmer was standing in line. There must have been 40 farmers, all of them really badly hurt, some devastated, some wiped out. And he said, sir, I've been doing and growing cotton for 25 years, and he was crying. He said, this was the best crop I've ever grown. This was the finest. He was explaining to me about cotton. I don't know too much about cotton other than I want to grow a lot of it in this country. But he was explaining how, sir, this was the best. And he's going like this. I mean, he said it's the best crop he ever had. And then in 5 hours, sir, I had nothing. I was wiped out. And I said to our man, Sonny Perdue, Sonny, we help so many people, but we don't help our people. We don't help them like we should. We got to help these people. He was wiped out. He wasn't asking for anything. He wasn't even thinking about it. And he got wiped out. And they had a rough season, as you know, last year, with a much smaller level of storm, but still a rough season. And I said, Sonny, we got to help these people out. And that's what we're going to be doing, because we help people out and we help countries out that don't even appreciate it. We give billions and billions of dollars all over the world. We protect countries with our military. They don't pay us. We do so much for so many. And here we have a cotton farmer who works his ass off his whole life. And I send checks for billions of dollars. Don't worry, a lot of it's is being cut back. You'll hear about it when you see all these protests from people. And we give billions of dollars to places, and they don't even vote for us at the United Nations. It's unbelievable. They vote against us on things that are very popular. They vote against us. It's called no respect. But they do vote now that I'm president. They have been voting very nicely. Thank you. Unfortunately, the way I wish they would keep not voting for us, okay? But I said, Sonny, these people in the Panhandle, Florida, and Georgia, and Alabama, and you're not talking about, and by the way, how about North Carolina, South Carolina, they got hit. They got a big water duster. That was a bad one. So you had two opposites. Here you had massive water, North and South Carolina, massive water. And then we get it from the other side with essentially a tornado that was massively wide. That was the world's biggest tornado. I've never seen anything like it. You go down to the shore, we saw houses where the foundations were actually ripped out of the ground. I mean, there was nothing, but the foundations were gone. They weren't even left. It was total devastation. And I said, we have to help these farmers. Their crops have been destroyed. Some of them, the pecans, does anybody grow pecans? Okay? So we had pecan farmers where I learned so much about this that day. You'll have trees, and it takes 4 years before they start. It takes 8 years before you can start, and 10 years before they really become productive. You had massive pecan farms where there wasn't one tree standing because they're not supposed to be hit by hurricanes. Palm trees are hit by hurricanes. With them, it's like ho-hum. Do you ever see everything's gone except the palm trees?
All right, folks, welcome. My name is Jen. I'm from Golden State Times. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. The president... Right now, what you're watching is from when he was talking to the FFA. And we have footage from inside the press briefing room. We're going to be putting it up on your screen in just a second. Please share the live stream on social media as Sarah Sanders is going to do her first or maybe even second press briefing of October. 2 press briefings in the whole month of October, folks. We hope that we have more press briefings in November, but the president has been very busy going all over the country doing rallies. So I'm going to be putting the footage on your screen in just a second. Thank you so much. You're going to see a screen that says, please stand by as I get the footage on your screen. So give me a second as I put it on there, and then we'll go on from there. Sarah Sanders is set to come out soon. Thank you so much. Please share the stream.
With me, pal.
So you put the microphone back in there, the Sony?
What's with people today? Oh, it's Dan.
The microphone has an echo.
Turn it down and let's
Good?
turn it this way, please.
You're good? Good. Here.
Thank you. Whoa. It says 56. Thank you, sir.
You good?
Super good. Hey, Fox.
Hey, what's shaking?
You got it, brother. Bacon. Okay. Thank you, sir. Happy camper. Just put that anywhere. Generally speaking.
There.
Sure.
You the white balance?
No, I'm good. I got one already.
You good?
Thank you. Thanks, man. You're the man.
Yep.
Okay, let's get
I
some
love it when
sleep.
we're wrong.
What's that, brother?
I love it when we're wrong.
I love it when we're wrong. Absolutely. So wrong. Okay.
You ever tried the measuring tool on the iPhone? That's pretty cool.
I haven't done it in a long time, but yeah, I did on a survey once.
Oh, here we go. On here. It's a damn shame. I bought a new cord.
Yeah.
Because these just they're made.
I bought reinforced nylon, stainless steel, Kevlar, Teflon. Here it is. There you
Here?
go. Be nice.
Like our IPA? Yeah. Of course, like.
I don't know.
Are you,
I don't know, pal. I don't know, mate. Yeah. You couldn't take that. You couldn't get rid of that saddle. All we do now is it's tight. Empty it at the very least. No, you can't get that off.
But I can take this out. Well, this will make it easier for you.
Wow. What is this? Is like a clown car. That's like, how much is it? Oh, okay, yeah. Raincoat. Yeah, definitely.
You know what you're doing? I'm gonna be in the White House on
Hey, wait a minute.
I was thinking under her chair.
election day.
problem is that they have said, because you're at on Monday, right?
Who on Monday?
Yeah, so you know it's there. It was Monday.
I haven't had an enticing order like that in 10 years.
Is this in the way too?
Well,
Oh yeah, you know, just put you can just put
yeah, I
that.
mean,
Just slide it back like this.
Yeah, there you go.
that's all I want to do myself.
Stevie, that's okay with you? Distract?
But everything's in New York.
Remember what you did the past couple of years? You did that, election night.
Everybody's so uncomfortable. Jeez. Then you come back late. Give me, excuse me. Excuse me, I'm gonna keep that.
No. That's,
Excuse me, I like to get that.
oh man, I did that. Somebody had to replace me there.
Oh,
Who's that person?
excuse me, but I have to get back.
Yeah, but last time, that's all in New York. I mean, they got a gigantic set.
Even digital? Are we digital?
Everything's, you just see what this, Mary Bruce is up there.
Oh, yeah?
Every correspondent we have.
1, 2, 3. I ever come.
I mean, it could be like a bus from New York coming down the road on the bus. I mean, it's, the set is like two flights.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, I think they've done that before.
Yeah, yeah. It looks pretty impressive.
All right, folks, welcome. My name is Jen. I'm from Golden State Times. If you just joined us right now, welcome. This is live footage from the press briefing room at the White House in Washington, D.C. If you guys share this live stream on Twitter, I wish I can say Twitter and Gab, but it looks like Gab is not working. They said in a message from Gab's CEO, Andrew Torba, I think his name is, he says that he's looking for a new platform for his website, and until he finds it, until he secures it, Gab is not going to be working, and that's pretty sad. And I knew that was going to happen because of the massive pressure that the mainstream media was putting on these companies, and they took them off the platform that they were in, and now they need new servers and stuff like that. So We hope that Gab.ai comes back online soon. But until then, if you guys can please share this live stream on Twitter or on Facebook or on Reddit or on any of the other social media sites, that would be amazing. Also, don't forget to click the thumbs up button below the video. If you guys do that and you guys are on the chat and you're active on the chat, YouTube has absolutely no choice but to promote this and to get more Patriots in here. And it helps out everybody, folks. It helps us out. We get the word out. And pretty much YouTube has no choice. So if you guys can help us by sharing this live stream, by clicking the thumbs up button, and if you guys want, be active on the chat. That helps out the channel too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm not a professional here.
It's okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
And show us one other area. Sorry, it's so quick.
No, it's fine. And I have to guess your podcast.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I take a meeting in the management. They have unbelievable maps. I went to this store in Virginia. It's not a bad drive. And it's a nice road.
I passed one on the way up to my mom's.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's the biggest store though. The one in Pennsylvania is different. It's like the originals. I don't know. Definitely bigger. Hello. Cool. Thank you.
Dana Milbank is sidelined. Look at this. Dana Milbank is sidelined. Can you believe it? It's reportable. Report it. Bring them on.
No, it's totally fine. Everybody will be doing it. People will be doing
Dana
it.
Milbank is sidelined.
Is everything here? Have your eyes
Should I not expect to see
He's recording, so I don't know. I'll tell him to email you and tell whether, because he's not performing everything else.
I was on the Washington Post. Saturday.
And I actually
Saudi Arabia. That's me in the Oval Office. No, it's
generally people know.
They kick you out. It's like it's basically
Hey, you're reporting facts, stop that.
Yeah, the sling or something different. Yeah. Neck break. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah.
Okay, here we go again.
It's hurt. Is it?
Let me go in. Is it early though?
Well, I know it's early, but this is nervous, huh? Who, me? Yeah, I just don't want to have to get out of the way of someone again.
It's all about him.
That's right,
Oh,
Sean.
I shouldn't.
Thank you, Mary.
Apparently it is. Thank you.
You have a problem with that, Sean?
I don't have a problem, just noticed these things.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, Steve, not again. Maybe you and I
what
should
is it?
switch positions.
Okay, my turn.
Okay.
Watch out, guys, you're taking one side.
Why aren't there any places? Jack Park?
Because we make these lines. And you gotta act like. Watch out, Mike. Watch out, Mike. Don't loan him money. Don't loan him money.
Oh, yeah.
I pick you up before dinner.
All right, folks, you're amazing, folks. There's a lot of you that are sharing the live stream on social media. So let me give you guys a quick shout out. We got Michael. We also have JT Waterman. Thank you so much. Max Payne. Thank you so much. Mr. Biscuit Bit. Thank you so much. Nancy. Thank you. Trip. Linda Murphy. Humphrey. I always keep saying Murphy. I'm sorry. Linda Humphrey. Thank you so much. Oft Good, thank you so much. Phantom Exploration, thank you so much, like always. Eric William, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Let's see who else. Pierre for Trump, thank you so much. Stefan, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Deplorable Trump Lover, thank you so much. I Stand with Flynn, thank you so much. Seamus, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. The 405 Media, thank you so much. Deborah Nell, thank you so much for your continued support and for sharing the live stream. Let's see who else we have on here. Eric the Patriot, thank you so much, Patriot, for sharing the live stream. James Simmons, thank you so much. AM at AM, thank you so much. Betty Boo, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Carla, thank you so much for your support and sharing the live stream. Pamela Jane, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Patriot. Let's see who else we have on here. Sandra, thank you so much, Sandra. And Tommy, thank you so much, Tommy. Let's see who else we have. And I think as of right now, oh, here we go. Poletics, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. And I think that's it for now. Thank you so much to everyone that is sharing the live stream on social media. Usually I give a shout out whoever shares it on Twitter or gab.ai, but I don't know if you guys know, gab.ai is shut down right now as they're looking for a new hosting service. The one that they had kicked them off the platform over the weekend, I believe. So if you go to gab.ai right now, all you'll see is just a notice from the CEO, Andrew Torba. So we hope that gab.ai comes back online soon. But until then, if you do have Twitter, or you don't, but if you can share Twitter, our live stream on Twitter, that would be amazing. It does not matter how many subscribers or followers or anything you have, you'll still come up on the search. And that's the most important part. So thank you so much to everyone that's sharing the live stream. Let's see, who else do we have on here? We have Swamp is Getting Drained. Thank you so much. Shane, thank you so much. Wilfredo Cruz, yeah, thank you so much. And we also have Karen Pope and Michael, thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Michael was for somebody else. Michael was promoting somebody else. I'm sorry. Okay. So we have another Michael. So that's good. And then we have JT Waterman. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I do have you. Yeah. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1 testing. Can you hear me? Test.
All right, so we have more Patriots sharing the live stream. Thank you so much for your support. We got Preppers Prides. Thank you so much. Airborne Richard. Thank you so much. In light of, what is this? In light of it all. Oh, okay, I think that's how it is. In light of it all. Thank you so much. Anne. Thank you so much, Anne. Let's see, who else do we have on here? Kahuna Nui. I hope I said that right, but thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Swamp is Getting Drained twice shared the live stream. Thank you so much. Shane, thank you so much, Shane, for sharing the live stream. All right, we have more Patriots here. We got Victoria. Thank you so much, Victoria. And Gary. Thank you so much, Gary. Let's see who else we have on here. I think that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing the live stream on social media.
Really? Oh yeah,
That's just me promoting.
I mean, I'm doing the whole trip, but
You're fine.
And yeah, but some smell intoxication.
Yes. I like
Yeah. Undone hair, not expecting to be.
So, how do you think this will be on
It's a little
Hey, it's good.
Oh, yeah.
San Francisco. Yeah, it's nice. Good weather. Well, we've been out there and saw my sister up in came back yesterday.
Yeah. Get on the United Direct stuff.
I did filter through when I booked this, I was trying to fly I am sure not. Yeah. I made what happened this year. I know people, there's a status of girls out in Carolina, I think that's what which means they give you your own butler or something?
No, but I mean, no.
Not serious.
I think what he's got more than anything is he's got your invite to their box.
Yeah. Oh, he gets to go to the Marriott box.
No, I mean, they would call up.
Oh, you can buy tickets.
No.
Well, they get status. I know it's cheesy. I think I'm going
All right, folks. So I noticed that Carolyn Hall on the chat was asking about the next rally. So I was thinking of giving you guys the updated schedule of the president. Give me a second here. All right, so the updated schedule of the President Trump's rallies is Fort Myers, Florida on the 31st, which is Wednesday on Halloween. Then we have Columbia, Missouri on the 1st of November. That is on Thursday. Then on Friday, November the 2nd, we're in Huntington, West Virginia. And we're finishing off on Saturday, November the 3rd in Pensacola, Florida. Once again, Pensacola. I think that's the second time that the president's been in Pensacola in the last few weeks. But he's giving a speech, a rally there in Pensacola, Florida on Saturday. So 4 rallies. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, back to back to back to back, folks. And that's not it. He's going to do 2 more rallies before the 6th. So make sure you guys stay tuned live here at Golden State Times. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Yes, they were to go to a rally.
Oh, yes. Excellent.
I'm so free with the belt.
Yeah, no, I agree. And they still have the sun sphere.
Can I tell you something interesting? So I was listening to the Patriots and they had this economist, they did this story a couple of years back, but they created it because that they introduced one Nobel Prize. But he also did this work about comparing light, the cost of light, wages.
Light, L-I-G-H-T?
Yes, lighting.
Oh, yes, okay.
They talk about how horrible farmers are for they talk about how just make Halifax currencies, this and that. He actually found wage price is a day's work by cost and now
Oh, there you go.
anyway, they use it to illustrate. All that really happens.
So rare, you have to capture the image.
Anyway, can you believe that? 10 minutes, this guy's at 20,000.
You're not supposed to wait your turn.
You don't get answers, we get responses.
I'm saying I aged like 8 years.
Do we get a Donnie Point show or?
Just tiny bit back.
Do what with this?
Just like top board, just a tiny bit. Like I might get in. It's okay. Okay, I'm right there.
And that's how you get the transliteration.
So here's the
Absolutely. Another mother. Oh, from the same mother.
I did too. In the opposite direction during rush hour. Oh no, I don't, but
Oh, I remember
I do it around. Talk about having just a walk.
What happens when you have networks allocated addresses, they're local addresses. Networks. They allocated on the rest.
Busy practicing, we don't know what's real.
They do like 1,100.
Even if it's like 500, it's like there's something.
Give us a shout out when you come. Yeah, you.
But you can expand.
You mean just like undercover or whatever? Oh.
Like in your private address, there's a range. My daughter was in high school. Yeah, I did one class at a time. So I had to do the second class. You do a second It's 30 credits. So I have two bachelors. One in theater in 1977.
I have one in English and speech
One night, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You're not going to do that. You just give them your answers, your original proofs, and then you just do another major. My department had it because I brought it to school right after the in-house. You know about this? A lot of schools got rid of it. They didn't want kids to form out because they were all they didn't want boys to work out in the draft. So my school is actually, well, it's funny because I asked that in the 70s, the year that I started, I mean in the late 60s, the year that I started was the first year that they weren't pass fails. Again, it was easier to get kids to pass than pass fails. It's harder to get them. So professors once the kids after the draft. Yeah, I probably have to. The same 4 years my daughter went to high school.
I guess it should be recorded, it should have been recorded.
First time you watch? The lady that was like 97 years old. Given the source, Right. One way is Friday or or it could be the reporter. That's lazy. I'm very smart. That's good. That's lazy.
So when I'm standing on line with somebody next to me actually said, here.
Oh, I was there. That was amazing.
I know, regions in New York State, they gave this test, California too, they gave this test called, and I actually got anyway, there's, if you have your oh yeah.
I'm sure they are. I got rid of it.
You mean since the I've only been or you mean a meeting on
Yeah, my daughter's
Oh my God. Yeah, and it was. I like your friend.
Just starting to get it.
This young lady, we've got that scary for checking. So your house, what's the drive?
Like 25, 30 minutes. And she has parking. She's just doing office work right now. But she's trying to get a job in a museum.
Where?
In a museum. Asian studies, but she did a year internship at the It's very hard.
And I like.
And you have to. So, yeah, so the way to track the work of small museum for your master's degree.
I saw that.
So she has a possibility of a small museum in It is. It's the Atlas Maritime Museum. You know, she's thinking about what to do a master's degree. You know, she could do museum studies or do cultural preservation.
That was what.
Press briefing will begin in 2 minutes. Thank you.
All right, folks, that was the 10-minute warning. 10-minute warning, folks. You should be coming out in just a few minutes. If you shared this live stream on social media already, thank you so much. Also, if you guys can please share the live stream on social media, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Good afternoon. I want to begin today with a few words about the heinous killing of 11 Jewish Americans at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Saturday. As you know, the shooter is in custody and the FBI is on the scene leading the investigation with the support of state and local law enforcement. This atrocity was a chilling act of mass murder, it was an act of hatred, and above all, it was an act of evil. Anti-Semitism is a plague to humanity, and it is responsible for many of the worst horrors in human history. We all have a duty to confront anti-Semitism in all its forms and everywhere and anywhere it appears. The American people reject hatred, bigotry, prejudice, and violence. We are a nation that believes in religious liberty, tolerance, and respect. And we are a people who cherish the dignity of every human life. Today, America grieves for the precious lives that were cruelly stolen. Our hearts ache for every person who lost a loved one. The 11 Jewish Americans who were horribly murdered represented the very best of our nation. They were brothers and sisters who looked out for each other. They were doctors who cared for citizens in need. They were proud grandparents who taught their grandchildren to value faith, family, and country. And they were the religious heart of the Tree of Life community. Our nation mourns the loss of these extraordinary Americans, and we also pray for those who were wounded. Our hearts are with the 4 brave police officers who were shot and injured while trying to stop the attack. We thank God for these officers and for every member of law enforcement who responded swiftly and bravely. In the wake of the attack, we have witnessed Americans of every faith and tradition coming together to mourn with their fellow citizens, to support one another, and to stand in solidarity with America's Jewish community. The President cherishes the American Jewish community for everything it stands for and contributes to our country. He adores Jewish Americans as part of his own family. The President is the grandfather of several Jewish grandchildren. His daughter is a Jewish American, and his son-in-law is a descendant of Holocaust survivors. Tomorrow, the President and First Lady will travel to Pennsylvania to express the support of the American people and grieve with the Pittsburgh community. And with that, I will take your questions. Jonathan.
Sir, the President said over the weekend that he could tone up his rhetoric. What does he mean by that? And does he have any concern at all that his words could inspire or provoke troubled people to do awful things?
Certainly, the President wants, in moments where our country is hurting like we've seen in the last several days, find ways to bring our country together, and we've seen him do exactly that. However, the President is going to continue to draw contrasts, particularly as we go into the final days of an election, the differences between the two parties, particularly on policy differences. You'll continue to see him make that contrast, but he has certainly, I think, found those moments to bring our country together and certainly focus on some of the things that all of us can support and all of us can condemn as well.
But he's also harshly attacked some of the very people that received those pipe bombs, and this morning suggesting that the news media is responsible for the anger in the country. How does he do that when, in the case of the pipe bomber, this was somebody who went to Trump rallies, this is somebody who had a van covered with attacks on the media and praise for the president. The shooter in Pittsburgh is somebody who was provoked, it seems, by the caravan that the president has spent so much time talking about. Why is he out there, when you say he's trying to unite the country, why is he out there
The very
making these
Jonathan,
attacks?
the very first thing that the president did was condemn the attacks both in Pittsburgh and in the pipe bombs. The very first thing the media did was blame the president and make him responsible for these ridiculous acts. That is outrageous that would be the very first reaction of so many people across this country. I'm not finished. The only person responsible for carrying out either of these heinous acts were the individuals who carried them out. It's not the president, no more than it was Bernie Sanders' fault for the individual who shot up a baseball field of congressional Republicans. You can't start putting the responsibility of individuals on anybody but the individual who carries out the crime.
Why is the president suggesting it's the news media? The president's the one placing blame here.
No, the president's not placing
morning.
blame. The president's not responsible for these acts. Again, the very first action that the president did was condemn these heinous acts. The very first thing that the media did was condemn the president and go after and try to place blame, not just on the president, but everybody that works in this administration. The major news network's first public statement was to blame the president, and myself included. I mean, that is outrageous that anybody other than the individual who carried out the crime would hold that responsibility. Steve?
What's it going to take to stop these killings from happening over and over and over again?
I think if we had a good answer to that, I think everybody in the country would support it. If anybody knows the answer, I think certainly this administration would be all ears. The president spends every single minute of every single day looking for the best ways to protect the safety and security of Americans, and we're going to continue to do that. John?
The second thing, is the president going to give a speech on immigration this week? What's your thinking about options in terms of closing the border?
We'll keep you posted if there's any scheduling announcement on an address on that topic. I'm not aware of that at this point in time.
11 Jewish leaders in the Pittsburgh area have said that the president's visit is not welcome unless and until he denounces fully and forthrightly white nationalism. Does the White House believe this president has done enough to denounce white nationalism?
The president has denounced racism, hatred, and bigotry in all forms on a number of occasions. We'll continue to do that. I'm doing it here today. And I would also say at the same time that some individuals, they're grieving, they're hurting. The president wants to be there to show the support of this administration for the Jewish community. The rabbi said that he is welcome as well. And certainly we want to show our support for those individuals.
I know that there was another meeting this morning about what to do about the border. You're thinking about an executive action, maybe some sort of regulatory action. Is one of the options being discussed making it impossible for anybody to claim asylum unless they enter through a port of entry? So that would mean that anybody who crosses the border illegally would not be able to make a valid claim of asylum?
There are a lot of options that are being discussed right now. The number one priority is looking for ways to secure our borders. We'd love for Democrats in Congress to actually help step up and do their job and help us do that. If they don't and they're unwilling to do, as they've shown in the past that they are, then we're looking at administrative actions that will help and allow us to do so. Raquel?
Sarah, thank you very much. About the Brazilian election, the State Department repeated today that the commitment to promoting human rights and democracy will continue to guide the relationship with Brazil. However, the Brazilian president-elected, Bolsonaro, has made very controversial comments about minorities. The opposition defended the military dictatorship in Brazil. My question is if the White House plans to address this and ask assurances from the government, the incoming government in Brazil, that they will protect human rights and democracy in Brazil. And another question, what do you think about these comparisons that a lot of people say?
Let me address the first thing.
Sure.
First, we promote human rights all over the world. We value our long-standing relationship with Brazil. We want to continue to be able to work with them. We'll see what happens from there.
Sarah, can I just... Okay, so what do you think about these comparisons? A lot of people are calling Bolsonaro the Trump of the tropics. And if President Trump plans to invite Bolsonaro to the White House, or if he has any plans to go to Brazil anytime soon, maybe attend Bolsonaro's inauguration?
There's only one Donald Trump, in my opinion. Stephen, go ahead.
I'd like to follow up on John's question about caravan. The president has used the word invasion to describe this caravan. That's the same word that is mentioned in the Constitution 3 times, invasion, with respect to the powers of the federal government to repel invasion. So my question is have there been any discussions here with respect to that, about the fact that the Constitution provides for example, the suspension of habeas corpus if to repel an invasion, if the public safety requires it? Is the president talking about potentially ignoring posse comitatus by having the military go down? There's a provision in the law that allows for a constitutional exemption. Is that in any way under consideration?
We're looking at a number of different options. I know that the Department of Defense is holding a press conference this afternoon at 4 o'clock to talk about some of the actions that they'll be taking. I would encourage you to tune into that. John?
That's not a note of my question. It has not been ruled out. Those are options on the table?
Look, I'm not going to get into specific policies that we're considering. There's a number of actions that we're looking at taking. When we're ready to make an announcement on that front, we'll let you know. John?
Thanks a lot, Sarah. The midterms are 8 days from today, and we often get from both parties what the midterms actually mean the day after the election. So I wanted to ask you what the midterms mean before the election. The president on October the 18th in Mississippi said, I'm not on the ticket, but I am on the ticket because this is also a referendum on me. Is that right? Is this midterm election a referendum on the president?
Look, I can't get into specifics that will impact the election, but I can tell you that the president wants to see more people that support his policies elected than not. Phil.
Sarah, it's now been 4 weeks since Jamal Khashoggi was murdered inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The president said early on that if the Saudis are found responsible, there would be severe punishment. That's his word. It's now obvious to the world that Khashoggi was murdered. It was premeditated. It was by the Saudis. Why has there been no action?
Look, the president met last week with CIA Director Gina Haspel after having gathered additional intelligence on her overseas trip, and the administration is weighing different options. We'll make an announcement about what the decision of that action is.
Is he considering any actual action?
Like I just said, the administration is considering what action we'll take moving forward based on that information and the briefing that the president received last week. Jill.
I want to go back to the tone question, because the president said he was planning to tone down his rhetoric this week. But at his rallies, since the suspicious packages began being mailed, the president has called out Maxine Waters by name at his rallies. He's stood there as his supporters chant "lock her up" in reference to Hillary Clinton, who he continues to call crooked Hillary Clinton. Will the president stop using that kind of language in light of the fact that these individuals were targeted by his attack?
The president's going to continue to draw contrast. Let's not forget that these same Democrats have repeatedly attacked the president, whether it was Eric Holder saying kick them when they're down, whether it was Hillary Clinton saying you can't be civil until Democrats have control of Congress, or whether it was Maxine Waters who encouraged her supporters to get up, not just in the president's face, but all administration officials' faces. Those actions are from those Democrats. The president's going to continue to fight back when these individuals not only attack him, but attack members of his administration and supporters of his administration. John?
Follow up on something else. Why does the president feel like it's necessary to send active duty troops to the border when he's already sent National Guardsmen down there who are doing the exact same job as the active duty troops would be able to do?
The president's number one job and number one priority is to protect the safety and security of Americans, and he's going to do what he deems necessary in order to do that. For specifics regarding that, I'd encourage you to tune into the press conference this afternoon. John?
Thank you, Sarah. Two brief questions. The first, a follow-up about the question on Brazil. Up until a few months ago, you used to give us readouts of the president's calls with world leaders, including congratulatory calls to newly elected leaders, such as President Macron, Chancellor Merkel. Did the president, or does the president plan to make a call to President-elect Bolsonaro?
He did, and he spoke with him last night. I actually sent a note to the White House press pool. If you didn't receive that, I'll make sure you do after the briefing's over. Sorry.
Question, Sarah, is this, with the election 8 days away, some Republicans, such as Mr. Hugan, the nominee for the Senate in New Jersey, do not mention the president at all, do not invoke his name or image. Others, such as Mr. DeWine, running for governor of Ohio, have him in brochures and pictures. Is the president aware that some candidates run against him, and is this going to enter into his decision where to go in the final days?
That's a decision for individual candidates to make. I think the president has an incredible story to tell. He's had a historic first 2 years, a number of successes that I think any Republican running for office should be proud of. Jim.
Sir, yeah, I wanted to ask you about David Lappin, who was spokesperson over DHS under General Kelly, Chief of Staff Kelly, a former Marine,
The Pentagon tweeted this morning, I dealt with the news media nearly every day. I know quite a bit about the press and know this. They are not the enemy of the American people. Shouldn't you reserve the term enemy for people who are actually the enemy of the United States rather than journalists?
The president's not referencing all media. He's talking about the growing amount of fake news that exists in the country, and the president's calling that out.
May I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
May
Go ahead.
I ask a follow-up, please? May
Go
I
ahead,
ask a follow-up, please? Since you mentioned that, the president said this morning the fake news media, the true enemy of the people, must stop the open and obvious hostility and report the news accurately and fairly. Can you state for the record which outlets that you and the president regard as the enemy of the people?
I'm not going to walk through a list, but I think those individuals probably know who they are.
Would that include my outlet, which received the bomb
I don't think
last
it's
week?
necessarily specific to a general, broad generalization of a full outlet at times. I think there's individuals that the president would be referencing. Jordan.
So you're not going to state for the record then. I mean, if the president is going to say the fake news media are the enemy of the people, and if you're going to stand there and continue to say that there are some journalists, some news outlets in this country that meet that characterization, shouldn't you have the guts, Sarah, to state which outlets, which journalists are the enemy of the people?
Well, I think it's irresponsible of a news organization like yours to blame responsibility of a pipe bomb that was not sent by the president, not just blame the president, but blame members of his administration for those heinous acts. I think that is outrageous, and I think it's irresponsible. Jordan, go ahead.
Sarah, we didn't say that.
Jim, I've given you 3 questions. Jordan, go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah. The president has talked multiple times about how the Republican lawmakers are going to protect pre-existing conditions if they keep control of Congress. But the administration is supporting a lawsuit that would undercut those protections under Obamacare and taken a couple of regulatory actions to that effect as well. So how do you square those two stances? And what's the plan, the Republican plan for protecting the
Look, the
pre-existing?
president's health care plan that he's laid out covers pre-existing conditions. The president wants to lower premiums to make health care more affordable. Nobody will be charged higher premiums if they keep their coverage, and nobody will be denied coverage under the president. Emerald?
Thank you, Sarah. On Chancellor Merkel's announcement that she'll be stepping down as party leader and won't seek to rerun as chancellor, what is the reaction from the administration, and how does that affect the relationship with Germany going forward?
We're aware of the announcement, and this is an internal matter for Chancellor and the German people. We're going to continue to work with the Chancellor and continue to develop that relationship. Blake?
Sarah, why did the president
Blake,
call
go ahead.
Andrew Gillum a thief? Why did the president in his tweet call Andrew Gillum a thief?
April, I'll come back to you. Blake, go ahead.
Sarah, thank you. Before you walked out here, just a handful of minutes before you walked out, there was a report that said, should the meeting between President Trump and President Xi of China not go well in terms of easing the trade war, the trade tensions, then at that point the U.S. would go forth with the $257 billion in tariffs. Is that indeed the timetable that the administration is working with here?
I'm not going to get ahead of the president's meeting, and I hope it goes well. April, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
How important is that meeting then? Because we heard Larry Kudlow say last week or 2 weeks ago that maybe there might not be a lot of detail that comes from it in terms of trade and going back and forth.
As the president likes to say, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to get ahead of the conversation. You have 2 of the most powerful leaders in the world. I think that's consequential no matter how you look at it, and we'll see what happens when they sit down. April,
The
go ahead.
president's tweeting today, in one tweet specifically, he called Andrew Gillum, the Democratic nominee for governor in Florida, a thief. What is his definition of that statement? And also I want to ask you about issues of voter suppression. The president's talked about voter fraud.
Let me answer your first question. That individuals under FBI investigation, I would refer you to that. I'm not going to get into specifics on that matter because it involves 2 candidates running for office, and I'm not going to impact that due to the Hatch Act. I'll leave that to the president to make those types of statements. And your second question.
Yes, second question. The president talks about voter fraud at a time when there are allegations and proof of voter suppression taking place in the state of Georgia, where Stacey Abrams is ahead of the Republican contender, and also in North Dakota, where Native Americans who don't have a street address but have a P.O. box if they live on reservations, they're not able to vote. So what's going on with that? Is the president talking about that? Is he working on that
Certainly,
issue?
we don't support any type of voter suppression. What we do support is voter integrity. Again, I'm not going to weigh into specifics that have impact on this election that's a few days away. I'll leave that for the president to lay out that specific case. Sager, go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah. Could you tell us, does the White House currently believe that they have the legal authority to close the southern border? And is that an option that's being explored with relation to the caravan?
Again, we have a number of options on the table. We're exploring each one of those. When we have a decision on that, we'll let you know. Vivian.
Thanks, Sarah. Two questions, please. First, last week we asked the president whether he'd call President Obama or any of the others that the bombs were addressed to, and he said, if they want me to, but will probably pass. Can you explain why that decision was taken?
The president did speak with Governor Cuomo of New York last week, and as this time there aren't any plans for other calls. If there are, we'll let you know. Hallie, go ahead.
So
Last
can I
question.
ask one more about Jamal Khashoggi? Can you tell us if CIA Director Haspel actually heard the tape that the Turks allegedly have proving that he was killed in the embassy?
I can't confirm or deny the specifics of the intelligence that Director Haspel saw while she was there. Last question, Hallie, go ahead.
So throughout the course of this briefing, you have repeatedly defended the president's attacks on his political opponents as valid because the midterms are coming up. So at what point does the White House
Not
believe-
because of the midterms. I've defended the president. I've defended the president fighting back when he's regularly attacked. There's a difference. Doesn't matter if there's a midterm or not. The president's going to defend himself and he's going to fight back.
From a political perspective, right? You're making that point.
From any perspective.
But at what point does a national tragedy take precedence over the president needing to punch back? If not now, when?
I think you saw the president do exactly that in the wake of a national tragedy, not just this week, but every time our country has experienced the type of heartache and pain that we have over the last week. This is a president who's risen to that occasion and worked to bring our country together in a number of occasions, whether it's the hurricanes, whether it's the Las Vegas shooting, whether it was the Pittsburgh shooting, all horrible, horrible tragedies that this country has experienced. And this president has come out, condemned the attacks when it is caused by an individual, and tried to look for ways to provide and bring the country together when it was a natural disaster.
Both he and you have also acknowledged that in the next breath, after he calls for unity, he does talk about division in what you describe as drawing contrast. Is he incapable of, in the words of some, toning it down and toning down the rhetoric?
Again, I think the president has had a number of moments of bringing the country together. Once again, I'll remind you that the very first thing the president did was condemn the attacker, and the very first thing the media did was blame the president. You guys have a huge responsibility to play in the divisive nature of this country when 90% of the coverage of everything this president does is negative, despite the fact that the country is doing extremely well, despite the fact that the president is delivering on exactly what he said he was going to do if elected. And he got elected by an overwhelming majority of 63 million Americans who came out and supported him and wanted to see his policies enacted. He's delivered on that. He's delivered on the promises he's made. And if anything, I think it is sad and divisive the way that every single thing that comes out of the media, 90% of what comes out of the media's mouths is negative about this president. Despite the fact that the economy is booming, despite the fact he said he would fix the trade deals, and he's done exactly that. He said he would defeat ISIS, and he has. The president has been delivering day in, day out, and I think it would be nice if every once in a while we could focus on a few of the positive things the president has done instead of just attacking him. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
No responsibility.
All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. We're going to be streaming the press conference that is happening at the Pentagon in a little bit over an hour. So we're going to shut this live stream down and we're going to bring up another live stream for that press conference. So make sure you guys join us. If you are new, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell. That way you get a heads up when we go live once again in just a few minutes. So make sure you guys tune in and join us. Thank you so much for your help and your support. Thank you for sharing the live stream. Thank you to the moderators for keeping the chat clean and enjoyable for everyone. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes for the press conference on the border at the Pentagon. Thank you so much.